In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. And today we are talking about another industry, and we are talking about the janitorial industry. And that it services a wide sector of industries, from medical to hospitality to industrial. I mean, there's tons of construction. We sold a big construction company, a cleaning company, and it's a great business. I mean, Jessica, you're seeing that out there too. It's worldwide.
Yeah, it's a great business. It's one of those industries that really, does well in every market. It's also what we would call recession-resistant or even recession-proof when you're providing cleaning services for some of these commercial enterprises. And like one of our interviews, John Woodhull says, a business can't just decide to not clean its building during a recession, or an office landlord can't decide to stop providing cleaning services to their tenants. So it's a really great industry that provides stability, stable cash flow. It's one of those businesses that really creates recurring monthly revenue from the contracts that you get. And it's also one that there's a lot of opportunity in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, it continues to grow. Obviously, with people getting busier, just residential cleaning continues to grow. And then the rules and stringent rules in the healthcare industry and in the hospitality industry, you're seeing that, people are having to up their game. And especially, I even think with social media and people talking about restaurants and hospitality and medical, that you're seeing that people are uber sensitive to making sure their places look clean.
Right. And even in some marketplaces, like I know in California, you even get cleanliness ratings on your restaurants now. So it's a big business. I mean, restaurants is just one component of it. Like you mentioned, Andy, there's all kinds of niches. I always say, think about the cleaning companies that provide services to car dealerships. Those are big contracts, right? They get their dealerships cleaned on a probably weekly basis. But also, if you're thinking about buying or selling in this specific industry right now, the two interviews we have today are going to give you some great background information about what you should be looking for. In terms of valuation, though, janitorial is really one of those industries where we have talked previously about quantity and quality of earnings driving valuation, right, Andy?
Yeah, obviously, as the earnings go up, so do the multiples. And I think that's a factor of obviously risk when you're buying a business. But, it's certainly true in this industry where you could literally start from scratch. There's been some huge businesses where people started with a mop and a vacuum and they went to work and they built a business and then sold it for literally multi-millions of dollars. And it comes down to service and it comes down to a lot of things. And then quality of earnings also drives the multiple. We had a large cleaning company once upon a time that talk about recession-proof, right? It was in the restaurant space, but they had two major clients. One of them was over 60% of their revenues. And they lost that client as we were trying to sell them. Now, the good news was they eventually got that client back and they sold the business for, I think, a better part of $20 million. And it started out as 15. So they got the client back. But again, the multiple was kind of down because they had a customer concentration issue. But like you said, recurring revenues, if you have a diverse customer base, and as those earnings go up toward $1 million, the multiples go up.
All right. So if you're in the business right now and you're thinking about selling, the good news is janitorial is pretty much what most buyers ask for. They ask for a business that's recession resistant, that has recurring revenue. So there's plenty of buyers willing and able to purchase the business right now. Like Andy said, the multiples vary, everything from, 1 times to 4 times to, I know Andy sold one that was over 10 times at one point. So it really varies based on that quantity and quality. And then if you're a buyer, think about the opportunities that are available right now. We've talked about the baby boomers retiring, but this is another one of those industries that you will see a lot of turnover in the next few years, especially these small mom and pops. And this is another opportunity where you could do a growth through acquisition or roll a lot of small mom and pops together and create a pretty big impact in your marketplace right away.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to this is low tech. So it's easy to kind of grasp. You are managing people. So that's your that's kind of the thing that you're going to have to get used to, that you're dealing with blue collar workers. But if you get a good quality, a good reputation, you do the right thing by people. If you're in a place where the population is growing, which is almost everywhere, you are going to do well. And so therefore, it's kind of a low risk business to get into.
I think it's a great industry. I'm glad we're exploring it today. We have two great interviews and also some experts on with some deals and listings of the week. But let's just jump in.
Let's do it.
Transworld Business Advisors is the world's largest business brokerage and mergers and acquisitions firm with over 500 brokers in nearly 200 offices worldwide. Transworld's team handles thousands of business sales every year. To be connected with a qualified business broker or learn more about the buying and selling process, visit tworld.com/the deal board or call 888-719-9098.
Welcome back, everybody. And today we're talking all things janitorial and cleaning businesses. And joining me today, I'm very excited to have an expert in the industry, John Woodhull, who is a business broker with our Transworld Rocky Mountain office, but also has a ton of personal experience in this industry. So, John, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jess. Thanks. Glad to be here.
So just give us a quick, give the listeners a quick background about you and your business background and kind of how you ended up being a broker.
Okay. Yeah, so I purchased a janitorial business back in 2005. I had sort of a finance background, didn't have any experience in the janitorial industry, so to speak. But I had embarked on looking to purchase my own business and came across janitorial commercial cleaning industry as a great business to get into because of one, I think it's low capital intensive. I think two was the fact that it's a somewhat fragmented industry. So with operational efforts, I think you can do some things to take advantage of the marketplace. And then it's the other great thing about it is it's a month-to-month revenue business. So it sort of gives you, especially when you don't have experience in a particular industry. With this one, with the month-to-month revenue, it kind of gives you that runway to learn the industry. And so I ran the business. I bought a business, like I said, back in 2005, and ran it for 12 years. I think we grew it from about 20 employees up to 100 or 120 employees, and we exited the business in 2017. And I used Transworld to do that. Had a great experience. Once I sold the cleaning business, my intent was to purchase another business and something that was, let's say, less labor intensive, but or with less, employees, but something that would be similar in terms of the sort of monthly recurring revenue idea, but really never came across anything. And, and eventually, keeping in touch with, the guys over at Transworld, specifically, Al Fialkovich, decided to take a crack at being a business broker, which I love.
Yeah. And now, really, yeah, and it's been super successful. I mean, really built a great business and had a nice exit. And now, you help buyers and sellers in multiple industries, but one of your expertise is janitorial and cleaning because you have so much experience personally. So what are you seeing as the biggest opportunities in the janitorial industry right now?
Well, in terms of opportunity, I think janitorial just in general is a great business to be in because it's sort of impervious to the fluctuations in the market, economics, upturns and downturns. Even the downturns, the the janitorial industry, people still need to have their buildings cleaned. I mean, they may dial things back a little bit, but they're always going to need to have people clean the bathrooms. They're always going to need to have the offices cleaned, and there's such a wide range of industries to service. We when we ran our business, we had probably about a third of our business in commercial cleaning. We had about a third probably in restaurants, and then the rest was like day portering, HOA kind of common area cleaning, and then we did a lot of periodic cleaning, carpets, windows, floor cleaning. So with all that, you really, another thing we did was education. So that was another area. But obviously all those kinds of businesses that use that service, I mean, they always need that service. So there's really never an opportunity to say, we're struggling through the economy right now, so we need to cut. Service is just never going to be cut, right? When you're at a school, when you're at a restaurant, you always have to have your places cleaned. And a lot of times, I think a lot of companies, when you do go through bad times, they try to, bring things in-house, and usually that doesn't go well, because, labor, to have labor to do this work, and to have a plentiful amount of it, creates an opportunity to sort of be that go-to service provider for all the different businesses that you can work for.
Yeah, it's definitely recession resistant. And, I liked, as you were talking, it made me think too, as if I was looking to buy a business, there's so many different verticals you could go into. So maybe you buy a business that just focuses on offices, but you can expand into restaurant work or, car dealers. I'm sure car dealers spend a ton of money on cleaning. So there's like a lot of different niches that you could go after. And even like another opportunity you said earlier is that the industry is very, it's very fractured right now, right? There's a lot of different small players in the industry, especially in Denver, we see that, but I'm sure in a lot of different markets.
Yeah, no, the business is definitely very fragmented. I mean, there's a lot of mom and pops out there, and no disrespect to them, but there's just a lot of like, hey, I got my one account. I service this one location. I do their carpets or floors, and it's sort of the janitorial industry. The type of people who work in that industry and do the work. They're most of them have sort of a full-time job. They're looking for something a little part-time after work on the weekends to supplement some income. And so that's what it lends itself to, this sort of fragmented, situation where you have a lot of little small players that might have one or two accounts. But there's, definitely with, the fragmentation of the industry, it's, it creates the opportunity to go out and, compete and, become a decent sized player in the industry. And, like I said, we took it from a 20-person business up to 100, and I had zero experience in the industry. Just the key, I think, with, building a cleaning business, one is, finding a good people. Good people is the number one thing with any business.
Yeah.
And in particularly with, a cleaning business, I think you can really differentiate yourself as long as you, treat your people well and, give them the resources and the budget, for them to, clean the buildings and be successful.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, that's a perfect dovetail to our next question or next topic, which is, what are some things people should look for if they're looking at buying a janitorial business? Obviously people sounds like it's a big one, but is there anything else when they're looking and vetting these businesses to buy they should watch out for?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing, I'm a numbers guy. So the first thing I always look at is, looking at, for any business, but definitely cleaning falls in that category. What's the gross profit? What's it taking for me? What's the amount of money that I'm making on top line, and subtract out what's costing me to do the work or providing the service, to be successful with whatever accounts that the business has. And that number needs to be kind of in that, with just gross labor, probably needs to be around 65% to no higher than 70%. When you start throwing in insurance and stuff like that, you can bring it down to 25% gross profit. But I think that's probably the number one thing. The other thing is just who's the kind of the go-to person for the labor. When you buy the business, are you going to be the person that's in charge of that labor? Do you really have a good plan for how you're going to go about filling jobs and getting labor for new business that you bring in, backfilling positions that turn over. So the labor piece of it, you really want to think through, so you make sure you have a good plan in place to move forward. And then I think what's getting an understanding. One of the other things that I really liked about the cleaning business was we had a pretty strong specialty service business, which was like carpets and floors.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have one of those? Because that's where you can sort of give yourself a little extra bit of cash to run your business. And obviously, the more cash you have, the easier it is to run a business, as long as you have your cash accounts are positive. So with the profitability is around 50% on the specialty services. So
Wow.
I think if you have a business that's doing say like over 10% of the revenue from that sector, that's a really solid business to look at.
Right. And really helps with those gross profit numbers that you mentioned too. So really good advice for buyers listening to the show. If you're considering this industry, there's some great metrics that John just gave you and some keys, making sure you have some niche services within there. But I guess the biggest thing, John, is, you have to actually find the businesses that are willing to sell or that are, listed for sale right now. So where do you see the best deals right now? Or where are they coming from, and how do buyers source them?
I think that they kind of come from all, across the board. There might be a business that's just focused on specialty services. There might be a business that's, just focused on, a certain industry. They might be a generalist, but I think across the industry, there's going to be great opportunities. What really sort of the motivating factor for, why somebody is wanting to sell a business in the janitorial industry is, it's a very labor intensive, type business. And, the fragmentation byproduct of that is just there's a lot of, turnover, I guess, in terms of people being able to sort of, survive in the industry. And so, because of that, I think, there's this opportunity to always, find businesses and deals that are out there. And a lot of what we do at Transworld, like what I do is, I market to directly, cleaning companies, letting them know about, so what my background is and, how I can help them with selling their business. And so, business brokers are obviously a great place to go to find, those businesses that are for sale. If you're in the industry or you're looking to get into the industry, reaching out to a broker to help you find that company to, if you to get into the janitorial industry is a great way to go about finding a deal. There's just opportunities across the board. And then obviously if you want to, go after something in the janitorial industry, a broker is a great way to go about it.
Awesome. Well, John, this has been extremely helpful. I hope anybody who's listening that is interested in this industry has been taking notes along with the show. But if somebody has additional questions or wants to talk to you about either buying or selling a business in the janitorial or any other industry, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, my number is, you want my phone number basically?
Yeah, your phone number and your email.
My email, yeah. So I'm John, JOHN at tworlddenver.com. And my number is 720-526-0540.
Great. And we'll drop those in the show notes for the listeners as well. John, thank you so much for joining us on the Deal Board and for all this great advice.
Thanks, Jess. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, Andy, do you know what time it is? It's time for our Deal of the Week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And I have a very special guest who has a deep industry knowledge into the janitorial cleaning business. So we're going to talk a little bit about more of the cleaning side because Tom Milana, the international sales director who just got back from Spain again, you love that place, and he has sold several businesses in the space. But we just want to talk about generally some of the pricing models and things like that. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy. Great to be back here in town. Spain was awesome. Definitely making a lot of ground there with some possible new sellers. But yeah, the janitorial service business, a number of years ago, I opened my own commercial cleaning company from scratch, and it really took off. And after about 5 years, turned around and sold it. And so there's a huge opportunity. The janitorial service field has always been a good seller, especially in the highly populated areas.
Yeah.
Many of the commercial cleaning companies tend to demand a higher price, especially if their bottom line is above the $300,000 marker. But there's a couple of things that everybody should understand. And probably the number one issue with any commercial cleaning company these days is that all your staff should be W-2 compliant, and there should be workers' comp in place. And a lot of these smaller janitorial companies are still working with independent contractors, and that makes the deal a whole lot harder.
Yeah, they're coming down on that these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the IRS wants their money. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Over the last couple of years, I've sold numerous cleaning companies of all different sizes. A lot of them have been the janitorial maid service companies where they're either cleaning hotel rooms or they're cleaning individual homes. These types of janitorial companies tend to sell for about 2 times their bottom line, their owner's benefit.
Right. Well, that's pretty typical of small business, right?
Very much so. Very much so. However, when you start to get into the commercial cleaning industry, where they're they're doing close to $1 million a year, and their bottom line is at that $300,000 level or larger, at that point, a 3-time multiple is certainly warranted.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, we see that quality and quantity of earnings drive multiples, so that's all great points.
One of the difficult things to sell, frankly, is a cleaning franchise, and frankly, there's just not enough profit in it when you have a franchise that's taking 50% of your profits, and the franchisee actually typically owns the franchisor, actually owns the customers in that case. So.
Yeah, so you got to be careful which franchise you buy. Obviously, there's some very good ones out there, and there are some smaller ones that you should probably steer clear of.
Right. So like I said, I've recently sold 3 smaller janitorial service companies. They were all doing somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 a year gross sales volume, throwing off about $100,000 if they in that ballpark.
Right.
And they all tend to sell at about that 2-time multiple.
Great. So you did 3 deals. Was there financing involved?
In most cases, the owner held a small note, maybe a $20,000 or $30,000 note, just to keep the buyer comfortable that the seller wasn't running away with his money.
And have you seen any guarantees on the clients, or they'll replace one or anything like that?
It does happen. Again, in order to keep at the end of the day, what are we selling? You're selling customers. There's usually very few assets involved, a couple of brooms and mops. But so at the end of the day, we're selling customers, and every now and then it'll be negotiated where if the buyer loses a customer, say within the first 6 months, the seller needs to replace that customer or give them a discount from the money that's being held in escrow.
Great. So we had multiple deals of the week this week, and I really appreciate it, Tom. Tom, what's the best way to get in touch with you if somebody wanted to talk to you about the janitorial industry?
Sure. My email is real simple. It's Tom, T-O-M, at tworld.com, or reach me direct at 561-702-6867, anywhere in the world.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Hey, welcome back, everybody. And today we are talking about the cleaning industry, janitorial industry, another wonderful service industry that we've seen a lot of people buy and sell businesses and grow. And I have a very special guest. I have my partner, Randy Bring from Transworld Business Advisors of Fort Lauderdale of South Florida here. And he's done a number of businesses in the space and knows it very well, sold to some public companies. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but welcome, Randy. And why don't we just start off about, why we like the cleaning industry?
Thanks, Andy. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here today. Well, we more than like the cleaning industry. We love the commercial cleaning business, especially, and there's so many reasons why. I think that as an industry category, I probably get more requests for pure service businesses like a commercial janitorial business, probably more requests in that space than anything else. And there's a lot of reasons for it, I think. For an entrepreneurial type of owner, it's a perfect business to buy one that is open and operating, and then take that business and essentially scale it up and build yourself a much bigger company. Commercial janitorial businesses have seen a lot of regular growth, as backed by all the statistics over the last 5 or 10 or 15 years. The margins are great. And it really is a labor-based type of business where you're not concerned with a lot of inventory. It's typically not a lot of accounts receivable. It's a pure service business where the most successful owners are ones that are able to manage a large group of employees and at the same time are able to go out into the community and brand themselves as the best commercial janitorial service in town and then build their company.
So it is a huge business here in the United States, and it's not one that's like going away anytime soon. We don't have robots doing our cleaning for us yet. So it is a huge business, right?
It really is. In 2019, the revenues are estimated to be $47 billion in just the commercial side of cleaning. I'm not talking about residential housekeepers. It's strictly commercial cleaning. And surprisingly enough, although there are some major franchise players in the space, Jana King and Coverall and JanPro and the Service Masters, all brands that we're familiar with, it's estimated that collectively those franchises have no more than about 10% of the entire $47 billion market. So there's a significant amount of independent companies that start, so often is the case, they start with one man and a broom and they build their businesses from there.
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of the industry. The industry itself is growing, and I think it sometimes comes from litigation and those things. I mean, you really got to keep your place clean now that in the world of retail and offices. I mean, the public is demanding that places be kept clean. So with the industry growing too.
Well. Of course, that's absolutely true. I mean, if you have a business where the public is invited to come in to your business, cleaning is first on everybody's mind. Keep in mind, though, that the commercial side of the space is really segmented. We generally think of office cleaning, high-end office buildings.
Right.
But that really accounts for only about a third of the commercial janitorial businesses. I have a seller right now, for example. They specialize in education and cleaning of schools. And so this is a service that the schools, mostly private schools, will outsource to a company like my client's business, and they come in when the kids go home at night, and they work overnight getting ready for the next school day.
Well, I mean, we've seen that, and we've actually worked on a couple of deals. You've worked on a couple of deals, and we worked on one that was specialized in the restaurant industry, which was a whole specialty in itself. And you've worked on some others, right?
I certainly have. I sold a business on the west coast of Florida just a couple of years ago. They were in an entirely different but a very important space, and this is medical cleaning. So this is a specialty that has to do with the cleaning of surgical centers, doctors' offices, emergency clinic centers. Their protocol is completely different than that which you would normally associate with a commercial janitorial service. They use specialized cleansers, and they have a whole protocol to follow, and it's a very, very important part of commercial janitorial services. Also sold a few years before that a construction cleaning company, which does first tier and final construction cleanup, such that if a building, typically a commercial building, has been completed, they do the initial cleaning, which gets the building ready for paint and flooring and for final building inspections, and then they do the final cleanup, which gets the building ready to actually be opened up to the general public. So there's lots of different segments. All of them are very, very exciting for us business brokers who are trying to sell them.
And again, a lot of them do have the ability to sell and have a decent valuation on them based on the size of their earnings, right? So it's really an opportunity for companies to get in the business, grow it, and really rev up their multiples by building it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a salesperson, if you're an entrepreneur that wakes up on a Monday morning and says, you know what, this is the day, this is the week when I'm going to go out into my community and I'm gonna add 2 new accounts. I'm going to add $50,000 in revenue to my business this year. This is that type of a business. It's so relationship driven, where you can get involved in your community and successfully brand and market your services to those that could use them.
Yeah. So what's your advice to someone wanting to get into the janitorial business, or, is it to start out on their own or maybe buy something small?
Well, I like the idea of acquiring perhaps a small but successfully operating commercial janitorial business, but that advice goes for any service business that
Sure.
I might be talking to a buyer about. The platform is there. The company has a name, a brand. It has a labor force. It theoretically has some accounts with some history behind it. And I would use that as my business school. I would learn as much as I possibly can learn about the business by acquiring a small company. And then I would, obviously, as a businessman, I'd go on the offensive and I'd begin to build using that as my basis.
Yeah, and there's opportunities to build in this business because a lot of people become dissatisfied with their clients, right? Or with their cleaners.
Absolutely, Andy, and that probably is the biggest thing that keeps the owners of these companies up at night. What we know is the old rule that if you're doing a good job for your customers in cleaning their store or their medical office or their office building, you don't often hear about it. You don't often get that positive feedback. But make a mistake one time in one job and your customers tend to jump all over you. So there is a tendency for many of the users of these types of commercial services to jump around a little bit. And I think that is the one thing that really keeps our owners up at night and keeps them very, very focused. It is all about customer retention. It is all about keeping in touch with and keeping your customers completely satisfied. It's pure service business.
Right. And also having a good diversity of customer base, right? We've seen that in some of our listings.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we as with any business, you want a full range of customers. You don't want them loaded into one space, one corner of the industry. You certainly don't want any customer concentration. I'd much rather have, 100 customers that I'm billing $1,000 a month to than 10 customers at $12,000 a month. So you want to be well diversified, such that if you lose one or two, then it's not going to infect the business.
Yeah, but to kind of wrap this up, it's a growing business. No matter what's happening, I mean, there's opportunities to buy. There's opportunities to grow through acquisition of clients that are mad at their current cleaners. And then the industry itself is continuing to grow.
It is growing and is projected to grow a minimum of 15% over the next 3 years through 2023. And one way that can be measured is that you can take a look at the companies that supply all of the goods and the products to our commercial janitorial services. And that's a whole nother business.
Yeah, a whole nother business that we could talk about.
But they're flourishing and they're doing very, very well. And there's a reason for it. It's because the people they're selling their products to, the commercial janitorial services, continue to flourish and continue to do well, and they're expected to for many years to come.
Wow. Well, that's all great stuff. Randy, if someone wanted to buy, sell, or even franchise their janitorial business or commercial cleaning business, how best to get in touch with you?
Directly, my cell phone at 561-809-1500. You can always send me an email. My email is simple. It's Randy, with a Y, at tworld.com.
Great job. Thanks for coming in there and giving us a great overview of a huge industry for us. So thank you.
My pleasure, Andy.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for listing of the week.
All right, for our listing of the week this week, we have a listing for sale in the janitorial business listed by Al Fialkovich from our Transworld Rocky Mountain office. Al, welcome back to the show.
Jessica, thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about this business that you have listed for sale.
Sure, no problem. This is a company that does a wide range of services for commercial facilities such as janitorial, floor cleaning, etc.
Tell us a little bit about the numbers. So, how much does the business make? What's the SCE? What's the listing price? All that good stuff.
So the business does a little shy of $7 million in sales. The SDEs are approximately a little less than $1 million. And we have the business listed at $3.6 million, also lender pre-qualified.
Sounds like a good business. Is there anything that really stands out?
Sure. This business has an amazing management team that's been with the company for a while, so great tenure and super sticky clients. This company's been around for over 25 years. Some of the clients have been with them for over 25 years, which is incredible.
Well, it sounds like one of those great opportunities that we've been talking about on the show. If someone wants to learn more or inquire, how do they reach you?
Sure, you can call the office, 720-259-5099, extension 101. Boom.
And we'll drop that into the show notes. Thank you again, Al, for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends on social media. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app. If you have questions, would like to appear, or have suggestions for topics for the show, get in contact with us through our website, thedealboardpodcast.com.